It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brouhaha. Can you feel the excitement, Dale? Can you feel it? Can you feel the electricity? You said you could. Now, so...
yeah, this is Ole Miss State baseball weekend. Yeah, they play each other. Yeah, I'm feeling the excitement of it. Yeah, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I'm just talking about excitement.
Oh, man. Excitement.
Yeah.
What kind of excitement are we having?
Oh, I'm excited. I got to watch some high school kids practice football a little bit yesterday afternoon. I kind of enjoyed that.
I thought you told me you were gonna get your tax refund.
No, I got that a long time ago. I got that
several years
months ago.
Yeah, they gave me one several years ago, and I guess that's the last one I was gonna get for a while.
They send me check every year. They feel sorry for me.
Do they?
Yeah, I said here. Maybe this will help, but anyway, it never does.
There you go.
Yeah. What's going on in the world of sports?
Sports.
Yeah.
Well, we had we've been on the air since last week. We had a baseball coaching change up at Mississippi State, which was pretty big news through Mississippi. Nationally, I would think it was the Kentucky Derby, and that's always a great race. That's kind of the first race.
Let me ask you something. I read this. You're a sports writer. I'm not lumping you in this, but a lot of things we read on the internet might not necessarily be true. We kind of, there's a lot of information out there. I was a big Secretariat fan. I remember when he won. I remember watching that and all that kind of stuff. Now, I read a headline somewhere that every participant in the Kentucky Derby this year was a descendant of Secretariat. You want to talk about that? Is that true?
Well, yeah, I think it's true because of the fact that there was just I saw it on national media posts like AP and all those Associated Press, and they're not going to put anything on there that's probably not true. But in talking about Secretariats, at the time, we thought she was a great horse, but he has turned out to be the greatest horse of all time.
He set a record in every race in all three of the Triple Crown.
He won the Belmont, which is the next race in the Triple Crown. It's going to be in New York. He won it by 31 lengths. No horse has ever done that in any race, anywhere, at any time.
Yeah.
So, 3 years old at the time. I think they said that
Hold on, Jay.
Okay, hold on.
Be with you a minute.
Anyway, he won. He died after 19 years. So, but his ancestors are still going. So he had probably a very good time in retirement.
Yeah, I guess he did. He made a big commitment, big impact on the breed, hadn't he?
He did.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna tell you what. I've been involved with breeding cattle before and livestock and did it for years. Family did it for years, and understanding how difficult it is when you go to deciding match matings and things like this, how you want stuff to go and how it actually works out. And it always takes a lot of time to see how it works, but I'm going to tell you what, that is a phenomenal fact that every horse in that race was a descendant of his. That's incomprehensible to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
Well, now, they might have been third cousins, twice removed, but they were still.
That's what matters. Did you, what else you got? I think you might even had that in did you have that in your sideline view, Dale?
Let me see. All this year's horses are descendants of the greatest.
Look at there. We both thinking great.
For somehow the paragraphs didn't come out like they were supposed to.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what else you got for us in your sideline view when you get there looking at it there?
Bobby Halford, the William Carey baseball coach, is now the winningest college baseball coach in the state of Mississippi history. He passed Ron Polk for wins last week. He now has 1,374.
Wow.
And he's been at Carey as a head coach since 1986.
Won a lot of games.
He did.
They got it going on over there. Fine institution. You've heard me speak. We've spoken about that before.
Yeah, they got beat in the championship of their conference tournament, even though they won the regular season, and they're going to host one of the opening rounds of the NAIA next. I think it's starting next Monday. So that should, and the winner of that goes to the World Series. So they could be going back again. And Mississippi State got an interim coach up there in baseball, Justin Parker. I don't know much about Justin, but Justin has started out well. He's 4-0 last week.
Wow.
They swept Kentucky in the SEC series, but this weekend I imagine it's going to be. And you know, one thing about Mississippi State fans, they're so loyal. 38,000 fans attended those 3 games up there.
Man, they believe in it, son.
I mean, they do. And this weekend they got a big one coming in. They got the Rebels Ole Miss for 3 games set.
Oh man!
So it should be interesting. First pitch is 7:30 Friday night for the first of the 3 games, and so it'd be that. Southern Mississippi keeps winning. They've won 9 straight now, and
Come on,
they always get on those streaks, you know, this time of year. And but they're still 2 games behind Coastal Carolina in the Sun Belt standings, but and they got 2. They probably got 2 pretty tough opponents coming up the next 2 weeks. They got Louisiana Lafayette in Troy. They got Louisiana this weekend at home, and they got Troy next weekend on the road. And both those are pretty huge because those are the 3rd and 4th place teams in the conference. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of seeing how things go this weekend.
Yeah. What else you got? You got some JUCO stuff going on?
Yeah, they got some JUCO stuff going on. They got the softball and the baseball, and of course, one thing about baseball I thought was interesting. Mississippi College, for the 4th time this year, beat Delta State. They've never done that in the history of the school.
Wow!
And they're 4-0 against them this year. They beat them in the conference tournament. And Mississippi College, as we speak now, is still playing in the Gus. They finished 4th in the regular season, and I think they have to face West Alabama today. And the I guess the semifinals, ever what it is. But Belhaven finished 2nd in their conference. Millsaps won their regular season conference. Oh, do you know they got a college in Laurel?
Yeah, well, no, I don't. If I did, I forget. I forget.
It's called Southeastern Baptist College.
I knew that's on 16/15.
Yeah, 15 up north, yeah. Anyway, they got a great win last week. They beat Alcorn. Now, I know that Alcorn's not one of the premier baseball programs in America by any means, but let me tell you something. For a Southeastern with about 60 students, beat a Division I, because Alcorn is a Division I in baseball and basketball. For them to do that, at least is notable.
That is notable.
And on the junior college, we got softball going on everywhere. We got, I think Jones and Colin are hosting because they finished 1-2. But they got pods of 4, they call them. And so they're battling it out, and the winners meet Saturday. And then in the baseball, we got Pearl River and East Central hosting. They're 1-2. And I saw where I think Meridian Holmes beat Southwest in a playoff game to get in one of them, and that's the only game that's been played so far. And I think Meridian beat I don't know who they beat, but they beat somebody to go on to the next round. And I apologize for not knowing.
Well, East Central plays today.
Yeah. Okay. So they got East Central and Jones. Colin and Southwest and Holmes. Holmes beat Southwest, so Southwest is out. So they got those up there. Down at Pearl River, they've got the Northwest, Northeast, and I believe it's Itawamba down there. The 2 winners are going to meet in a best of 3 next week.
You know, last year East Central made it to the series,
Yeah.
the World Series, and we got a couple of Wayne County folks, a couple of Wayne Academy pitchers on that team this year. Luke Cooley's gone on and is playing at the next level, and Cameron Carlisle's still over there with East Central, so they're trying to make it back to the series again. But it looks like we're about out of time for our first segment. Dale, who you got for us for a guest tonight?
Well, we got the 2024 Sports Writer of the Year for the state of Mississippi.
That's pretty good.
Mr. Robbie Faulk from the Starkville Daily News. He's been on the show before. He's going to talk a little baseball with us, and we might touch on football a little bit.
All right. Well, let's take a break and hear from our sponsor, and we'll be back with tonight's guest right after this commercial break.
Phillips Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Robbie Faulk. Robbie, first of all, we'd like to congratulate you. We've already introduced you before the interview here, but we want to congratulate you on being named Mississippi Sports Writer of the Year. I know that's a great honor. There's a lot of talented sports writers in our state, and for anybody to be the top choice in Mississippi is pretty good. Now tell us about your award as far as what happens next to you. I know you go to a banquet, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we actually have a banquet, a conference, I think, in Greensboro, North Carolina, and get to go there and meet all the sports writers of the year, broadcasters of the year around the country, and I think Mike Tirico is going to be honored at the event as well. So it's going to be a really exciting thing in June. So I'm really pumped about that. Well,
anyway, like I said, we have so many great sports writers, and we've had so many great sports writers. A lot of them are like me; they're fading off the page a little bit, but we still try to contribute a little bit every week. But we do thank you for what you do for the Starkville paper, and today we're going to talk about a little bit about Mississippi State baseball. First of all, did it surprise you as an individual that a change was coming in Mississippi State baseball?
No, I wasn't really surprised that they did make a change. I was kind of surprised at the timing of it. I didn't know if they would make a change in the middle of the season. And if they did, I thought it would be kind of earlier, and especially this late in the year. I didn't really expect it when it came, but got a phone call last Monday. Hey, this is probably about to happen. Started to prepare for it and was given the go-ahead, and there we go. Zach Selman was just kind of ready to make a move there. And I think that the idea was he wanted to prevent, if there was a run that happened late in the season, the conundrum that he would be put in of moving on and keeping Chris Simonis if they did make a run. I think he was ready for a change, and he believed that this team could make a run, and he felt like the best thing to do was make that change and allow the team to kind of get hot now and move in a new direction.
Well, yeah, I think the timing got everybody because of the fact that anybody that you might want to interview may be still trying to, get in the NCAA tournament, and that process will just drag it on, into another month. Let's talk just a minute about the assistant coach, Justin Parker. Do you think he was put in charge, but do you think that he might be a permanent successor? Or is somebody else on staff maybe more qualified?
I think that right now they're kind of looking beyond the current staff and trying to find someone outside of this current staff. And that's not to say that he's not going to be a candidate for the job and that he could play himself into it. But I think Selman's idea is let's go out there and try to find the best coach for this program and not get caught up in the emotions of things. Because Mississippi State had a similar situation in 2018 when they went on a run to Omaha, and they were actually one win away from playing for the national championship with Gary Henderson as the head coach. So I think you want to prevent, letting your emotions get involved in that, and this being just a strong run late in the season, you don't really want to just get caught up in that. You want to find the best possible guy for this job that can lead this program moving forward.
Do you think the search will start with present head coaches, basically even within the conference? I know there's a lot of talk about, there might be somebody at Kentucky and Auburn and Georgia, and even outside the conference, head coaches as far as Virginia and I believe it's Duke, places like that. I've even seen a report on somebody from Oregon. But anyway, what are your thoughts on which way they may go on that?
Yeah, I think that Zach Selman's goal is to go out there and find a power forward head coach. And it's interesting, 2018, when John Cohen was in charge, Mississippi State went on that run to Omaha, and it really felt like they were going to be an exciting job for coaches out there, and it just did not have a large pool of coaches that were interested. And there were also a lot of jobs open in that cycle, so you miss on Jim Schlossnagle that year, and there really weren't a lot of coaches out there that were big-time options. I think that's completely flipped this time around. There are a lot of options out there for Mississippi State. It's a very attractive job in this current landscape with NIL and all that, and there's a lot of coaches that want it. So I think they're going to have a pretty good pick this time around. We'll see who that is, but I think they're going to be able to hire a sitting power forward head coach if they really want to, and I think that's Zach Selman's goal.
All right, well, they got a big series this weekend in Starkville. They just came off a tremendous week last week. They kind of demolished Memphis early in the week, and then they had an exciting 11-inning win against Kentucky, and then they won a couple good ones against Kentucky. So, what do you think? What do you think about the matchup this week?
Mississippi State has really kind of owned this series dating back to about 2016. That's when State really went on a good run. Last year they lost the series at Ole Miss, and that was the first series loss they had against Ole Miss since 2015. But they still won more games against the Rebels during the season. So this has been a series that they've controlled, but that hasn't meant that it hadn't been really competitive. These games have been really good, really competitive. State's just come out on top. I expect that again this weekend. I think it's going to be a really good series. I think there's going to be some great crowds. And it's important for both teams because Ole Miss is trying to get a regional host spot. They really need to do well these last 2 weekends. State is trying to get in the regionals, and to get in the regionals, they really need to win this series. So it's going to be fun. I don't know if a couple of weeks ago we would have been looking at this series as this important, but I feel like it's the most important series of the season now for Mississippi State.
Yeah, looking at Mississippi State's schedule, I don't say any series you have in SEC is easy, but it seemed like going into these last three weekend series, there was Kentucky. There was kind of down this year. There was Missouri, the final series, and Missouri's not having a good year at all. I don't even know if they've won a game in the conference yet. And then, of course, Ole Miss. State always plays well against Ole Miss. So you thought if there was going to be a run, it would be during this next 3 weeks. Is that your opinion too?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why you make the coaching change when you do, because a lot of times when you make these changes, you get kind of that jolt of energy from your team, and you get kind of a new energy around them. I think that's what you've gotten with Mississippi State. They've kind of focused themselves here after losing Chris Amonis. They've come together as a team. They're playing really loose and locked in. I think this is the time for them to make a run, and they really need to win, I think, 5 of the next 6. I think they need to win this series, and they need to sweep Missouri. You do that, you're certainly in the NCAA tournament at that point. And then you just never know. I mean, that's the great thing about baseball is it's all about playing well at the right time, and this is the right time for Mississippi State. If they can really turn it on here, they could have a really good finish to the season and do some big things. I think this team is talented enough and capable enough to do that.
No, I totally agree with you. Let's change just a little bit. Talk to us about spring football. What did you see? The most question I'm asked down here in the area that we live in here is who State got for quarterback?
Yeah, Blake Chapin's back this year. He played in the first 4 games last year and then got injured against Florida, hurt his shoulder, and he was out for the year. And he gets a medical red shirt and is able to return for 1 more season. Jeff Levy loves him. He's a former Baylor quarterback that did some really good things there at Baylor. He's had some injury issues, so that's certainly a concern for you. But as far as command of the offense, knowledge, leadership, he is exactly what Jeff Lebby's looking for. And behind him, you went out and got Florida State's quarterback, Luke Kromenhoek, who had some really good moments for the Seminoles last year. And you brought in the state's best quarterback and one of the best players in the state, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and Kamari Taylor from Knoxville County. And everybody's really excited about him. You would like for him to kind of sit back and learn this year and then really work for that starting position next year. But physically, in the way that he throws the football, he looks really special. And he's a guy I've compared, he really is comparable to me to a guy that you guys might be familiar with down there in South Mississippi, Jason Campbell, who had a great career, obviously, in the state of Mississippi and at Auburn and in the NFL. Physically very gifted, just has a different kind of mindset. I think he's going to be special. It would not shock me if something does happen with Chapin to see him get the reins as a true freshman. But the best case scenario is Blake Chapin goes out, has a great year, is healthy, and those younger guys can learn underneath him. But I think they're in good shape at quarterback. We like the running back room. They were not happy with what they had at offensive line, so they went out in the transfer portal in the spring and went and got 5 talented offensive linemen in the transfer portal to try to build that room back up and build some depth. So offense is starting to round into form. I think the defense will be better, and we'll see what it looks like when they come to Hattiesburg for game 1.
Hey, look, this is Marshall. I'm going to butt in here and ask you a question, kind of change directions just a minute. We're still talking about Mississippi State. Do you know anything about, there's something going on with Jimmy Bell Jr.? Can you kind of tell us about that and what's happening with him and kind of an unusual circumstance, or do you know?
Yeah, so Jimmy Bell, he transferred in to Mississippi State from West Virginia to play basketball 2 years ago. And when he finished his eligibility, he actually went out for football at Mississippi State. He had played some football at West Virginia, and I think had actually come into college playing football on the offensive line. Massive guy, a really talented athlete, and he actually decided that he was going to hit the transfer portal for football, didn't find a landing spot, so he stayed at Mississippi State and has been kind of training for the last year, and ultimately worked out for some teams, and he gets an opportunity to be a free agent in the NFL. So we'll see what happens with him, but a pretty cool opportunity for him to get a chance. You have to be a pretty special athlete to be able to play, college basketball and college football, and now be able to translate that into a potential pro career on the football side. So pulling for him, he's a really good guy. He did some good things for Mississippi State at the center position a couple years ago and helped them get to the NCAA tournament. So hope to see him get an opportunity in the NFL, maybe make a practice roster or even get a full-time gig. That'd be pretty cool.
That's a great story, man, and we were watching it. We have come to the point where we're about out of time, Robbie, and we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be with us today and bring all the things that you always do to the Brouhaha table when you come. Thanks for being with us. Going to ask you to hold on just a second. Dale and I are going to take a break to hear from one of our sponsors and be back with tonight's final segment right after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back to tonight's final segment. Robbie's always fun to talk to. We're always good to have him.
He's pretty informative. I mean, he knows Mississippi State. He knows the heartbeat of the Bulldogs in baseball, and he wasn't caught, I guess, sleeping on the change of coaching. He knew it was coming, and from what he said to us, basically is they didn't want to repeat a situation like they did in 2018 when Gary Henderson was, if you remember that, their Mississippi State coach was let go like the first week of the season.
Wow.
Gary Henderson took over and almost took them to the World Series, or did take them to the World Series, I think. But anyway, and then State didn't want to get in that situation. They let Mr. Henderson go at that time and hired this guy they just let go, Chris. I call him Lemon, but his name is Leminius or something like that. I can't.
That's pretty impressive, Dale.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway.
Can you say that again?
Well, I get tongue tied sometimes on some of them foreign languages. But anyway, getting back to it, they just didn't want to put in a situation. Okay, this guy goes on a run on the weakest part of the schedule. We're gonna have to keep him another year, and we just need to move on, and that's basically what I got from Robbie's conversation today.
Well, anything else going on around? I saw a deal coming out of the Columbia School District where a guy that used to coach here in Wayne County, Jamie Powell, remember him?
I do.
Yeah, he's a softball coach. He just came up with his 500th career win. He got a bunch of them in Wayne County.
He did.
I remember he made this. He played in, I don't know, multiple state championships. That's like when they were playing fast pitch and slow pitch. He might have been to 6 or 7 state championship opportunities. Wasn't able to get over the hump with that bunch from, what was that, Neshoba County up there?
Neshoba, let's see, what was it?
Central, or that had that, man, they won, they had that pitcher that pitched.
Yeah, 6 years. She pitched 6 years.
Ashland Wesley.
7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th.
She went to state, I believe.
Yeah. I saw something, and this is in our area. I just know, but a friend of mine, last name's Cooley, from South Jones. His daughter is a 7th grader at South Jones, and she won the 5A state championship in singles as a 7th grader. She's 12 years old.
Oh, man.
She's 12 years old.
Better keep your eyes on that one.
Yeah. And,
I mean, when they can win state championships when they're 12,
oh, my goodness.
she may be, I don't care what state you're in.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive to be, but to be 12, she's still 12, folks.
12 years old? Not in the 12th grade.
Yeah.
She's 12 years old.
Oh, she's 12 years old.
I don't guess they have a limit when you play tennis at average if you can get on the court.
No, I was reading about it, and I was just overwhelmed, Yeah, that is...
That's a really interesting sports story. You ought to write about that sometime. You're one of the sports
Well,
writers.
I think one of the local oral papers wrote about her. So, anyway, she's starting to get a little pub.
There you go. I reckon so, man.
I think if I was Ole Miss State or Southern, I'd at least send her a letter. Congratulations.
How you doing?
Congratulations. Remember us.
About, 6 years or something like that?
Yeah.
That's a long time, man.
Yeah.
A lot can happen in 6 years.
Yeah. Well, we may see her on the center court at
Wimbledon or somewhere like that.
Wimbledon one day.
That's possible.
Always possible.
Yes, sir.
Always possible. Me and you ought to go and cover that for when she does, since we're in the sports business,
Yeah. You ought to do that.
Can we get that off our taxes? That's all I want to know.
Yeah. Well, we'll find us. Maybe we can get up with Johnny Carson's old account of bombastic bushman, and maybe he could come up with a good write-off for us or something like that.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, well, they say all good things must come to an end, and I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but our time's come to an end. That probably is a good thing for our listeners. Our time is up.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. They're probably saying, when's this show over with?
We want to thank our listeners for joining us and remind you all that if this is not enough, you can keep up with us during the week on our Facebook page at the Brouhaha. But all the shows are cataloged for you. You can listen to them on demand at our YouTube channel at the Brouhaha. And again, we thank Robbie Faulk for being with us, and Dale for all you do to bring to the Brouhaha table. You got your hand up in the air. Is there something you want to say?
Well, doesn't the officials do that when the ball game's over?
Oh, okay. I don't know. I'm never looking. I'm wrapping up stuff. I'm folding up stuff. But anyway, I do know this.
What?
It's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Del McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.